Welcome back from that, and this time around we are back with the press, our review where we look at the print media and we observe, we see what's making headlines within this particular print media to see how we can make appropriate decisions to find out what's really happening into the world of business. And with me, I am going to start with the New Vision to see what's making headlines right there, most especially as we look at the business perspective this time around. And here in New Vision, 50 districts to benefit from the fertilizer subsidy. Over 100,000 farmers in 50 districts are to benefit from a fertilizer subsidy. The farmer will purchase a bag of fertilizers that's at a reduced price. Under this arrangement, farmers will pay 65% of the total cost of the fertilizers. This means that a bag of NPK, which has been going for that's 200,000 shillings, according to the report here, will now go for between 140 and 150,000 Ugandan shillings, depending on the location of the farmer. Such a great initiative. And maybe before we go further, the initiative is aimed at mitigating challenges facing the fertilizer industry, in particular the local fertilizer industry. And that's why the government is coming up with such subsidies to help the farmers be in position to obtain these fertilizers at a cheaper rate to enable to improve the agriculture activity within the country. The arrangement that will go on for the next 5 months was on Friday announced by the African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership, of course, and that is working together. That's with both international and regional fertilizer distributors through the Sustain Africa initiative. So there is a collaboration between the regional and international distributors of these fertilizers. So this union is coming together to ensure that farmers can get seeds at subsidized prices, something quite very remarkable for the agriculture industry right there. Now, the initiative, according to that particular body, that partnership country manager said this is aimed at mitigating challenges facing the fertilizer industry. The fertilizers will be accessed that's through agro-dealers, cooperatives, or farmer groups and distribution hubs, and spread across the different parts of the country. And as I wind up this, according to the manager, like many African countries, Uganda faces lack of affordability and shortages that's of fertilizer and other agriculture inputs, and not just fertilizers, but of course depending on the war in Ukraine, which disrupted the global supply chains. Of course, that's regarding that particular report. 50 districts that's to benefit from the fertilizer subsidy right there. Now I put aside the New Vision and I cross straight to the Daily Monitor and see what's really making headlines right there. And here I see transporters tighten checks and masking for passengers. And of course, as we know, the outbreak of the Ebola virus, which was announced yesterday. Of course, this is quite worrying to the to all industries, most especially the transport industry that faced it rough during the COVID-19 pandemic. And this time around, looks like they're not taking chances. They're taking all possible measures to ensure that the spread is limited amongst the Ugandans, because they know the possibility of what can really happen in case the pandemic gets out of control. They are one of the people that largely will lose businesses. So transporters tighten checks and masking for passengers. And when I review this report here in the Daily Monitor, transporters yesterday raised the red flag and urged travelers to be vigilant. Hours after the government confirmed the outbreak of the Ebola virus that's in Mubende, where the first case was cited. And of course, the public relations manager of the link buses said that's the western route via the Mubende, which has confirmed an Ebola case, worried that their employees who interface with hundreds of clients daily are at risk. And now these are the bus transporters that largely use those routes there is a worry among us that their workers could actually get in touch with the people, with the infected personnel, and they end up getting the disease. According to a statement, he said, we have already put up a number of preventive measures for all the staff members and the general public as usual, as we are committed to working with the government and other stakeholders to stop the spread of Ebola. That's the person taking a bus group that largely transports people into that particular region. That's Mubende right there. Ebola is a viral disease transmitted mainly through contact with fluids or blood of an infected person, according to the World Health Organization. As I wind up this, a number of transporters interviewed for this particular aspect say that they had either introduced or were due to introduce preventive measures, among them, and of course, which was provision of jik. Yes, passengers will be required to wash their hands with jik before they enter the buses, and which is one of the preventive measures. Provision of jik for cleaning inside the bus and handles, as well as providing water and soap for passengers to wash their hands. So that's the initiative they are taking place. They're undertaking to clean the buses, to transport vehicles with jik within, to ensure that there is limited spread of the virus. Of course, it was really hectic for the COVID-19. It taught them a lesson. And this time around, they are taking the initiative themselves, not waiting for the government to put up such SOPs. Okay, and now finally, still in the Daily Monitor, 12,000 students get study loans, according to the report here. A total of 12,780 students, that's from 10 public universities and 12 private ones, have received loans from the Higher Education Students Financing Board, that since 2014. Of course, Mr. Michael Wanyama, the board executive director, made the revelation during the launch of the Students' Loan Scheme that's at the Victoria University, Kampala. That was yesterday. Although the scheme has only been catering for science, technology, engineering, mathematics courses since its establishment, Mr. Wanyama said art students have also been included into this year's loan schemes. Remember, Uganda on a journey to ensure that science-related courses are given much more attention, and that's the reason why majority of the loans before, the main focus was largely on the science students, but this time around, there is a suggestion that also the art students are coming on board. So that's quite remarkable news if you're an art student right there, and you'll be in position to get yourself a student loan and you achieve your education efficiently. As I wind up, Mr. Wanyama, still the executive director of the board, said that he was worried just about increasing the number of students who have dropped out of universities due to failure to raise tuition fees. Quite a number of students actually drop out on a daily basis. You can start with a big class of about 500 students, but by the time you graduate, you are roughly about 350. So imagine, where did the 150 go? So such initiatives will be very, very essential to ensure that the education industry is boosted. Remember, these students need to get the education for a successful future. And that's it for the press review. Let's get straight into the international business news. We start with Mozambique, the IMF and the Mozambique agreement, as the IMF staff with Mozambique signed an agreement that could unlock about 63.8 million US dollars. According to the report, Mozambique and the IMF team reached Monday a staff-level agreement on the economic and financial policies that could support the approval that's of the first review of the program under the ECF arrangement. The ECF, also known as the Extended Facility, provides financial assistance that's to countries with protracted balance of payments problems. The agreement awaits the approval of the International Monetary Fund Executive Board in December, which would enable disbursement of about 63.8 million US dollars. That's regarding that particular aspect. The Washington-based institution welcomed the Bank of Mozambique response to contain inflation. It called it proactive. Wow, very interesting report right there. The International Monetary Fund granted in May a 432 million euro loan to Mozambique, first since it withdrew 6 years ago, at the time after finding undisclosed debts in the so-called hidden debt scandal, and that's involving the government of Mozambique. And you know, that's one of the greatest challenges that African countries have been facing when it comes to getting the different loans from these different agencies. There is that aspect of how are those loans utilized. And we've seen quite a number of these governments getting into scandals regarding loans, the funds obtained from these institutes. So remember, these people, these institutes, mind largely about accountability. So that's very key. If you get this money, be mindful as a leader how you distribute this money efficiently. And that's it regarding Mozambique, of course, signing an understanding, or what we can call a memorandum of understanding, with IMF to ensure that they can secure about 63.8 million US dollars to help the country rescue the problems of the balance of payments. Okay, and now let's cross over to the Tanzania, and this time around we are looking at the Tanzanian economy as CRDB secures 130 million US dollars for credit to private sector small and intermediary enterprises. The South Africa-based Investec Bank and Italian that's San Paulo have raised 130 million US dollars in syndicated term loan facilitates for CRDB banks lending to corporate SME sectors. That's in Tanzania and Burundi, the companies announced yesterday. Okay, as I continue the report, Intensa and Investec were joint coordinators and book runners for the transaction, with Investec and also acting as the facility agent for this maiden syndicated loan deal in Tanzania outside the government and the public sector. He said the target was to raise 50 million US dollars, but the high number of international investors showing interest, the deal ended up raising just a total of 130 million US dollars. CRDB Bank has B2 stable outlook rating at Moody's Investor Services, and of course the head of Africa Structured Debt Solutions at Investec Bank, Mr. Rowan King, said the transaction was a vote of confidence by the global financial institutions in CRDB and the Tanzania economy. And of course, I can see the quotes, the statements he made here. He said Tanzania has proved to be a crucial part of the African growth story over the last few years, he said. Still on this particular report, the head of the loan distribution and syndication, that's the Investec Bank, that's Lynn Large, said the fact that the 130 million US dollar raised was 2.5 times, of course, the launch amount, points to the fact that there is a high degree of comfort with the CRDB in that regards, and the bank's credit worthiness, which coupled that's with a broad spread of investors in facility, and this demonstrates a healthy interest in placement. Okay, and now that's it regarding Tanzania, and that's what really transparent right there. And now let's wind this up as we are looking at Shelter Africa. And here the Shelter Africa approves about 2.2 billion shillings for Democratic Republic of Congo office housing projects. The Pan-African Housing Financier Shelter Africa has approved on about 18.5 million US dollars. That's coming to 2.2 billion shillings corporate loan to Democratic Republic of Congo best developer for 3 housing projects. The 5-year facility is part of the urban regeneration plan. The lender said on Tuesday and is the 3rd credit line for the company since 2016. The Katanga-based Mason, that super development, is building office blocks that's in the southern city of Kolwezi and southern Lumba, that's Lumbashi. Those are names, those are places in Congo right there. The third biggest DRC city where it is also putting up a housing project. Shelter Africa has been ramping up its initiative in the Democratic Republic of Congo through public-private partnerships and equity investments that's in large-scale, low-cost housing projects. It also injected about 114 million US dollars, that's equivalent to 1.3 billion, into the lender mortgage for financing. And that's it for the international news. That's what's happening in the world of business. That's across borders, away from East Africa, away from, actually not East Africa, but away from the home country, Uganda. And that's it for this particular session. And let's wind this up. It's exactly just 9 minutes left to hit 8 a.m. exactly. And let's get straight into the business quotes and tips. But firstly, let's review the business tip of the day. To evolve, our small business owners need to be prepared to roll with the punches, and of course the market will inevitably shift over time, and business owners need to adapt to keep their product relevant. Refusing to change your approach to what consumers want or need will only hurt you in the long run. Wow, very interesting tip right there, calling upon to evolve as a business personnel. Remember, we live in a time with quite high technology, high competition all over. On a daily basis, new products are being put on the market day by day. And remember, due to the number of competitors, because we have so many people that are dealing in a particular object. For example, most especially in the world of technology, we're talking about mobile gadgets here. We're talking about computers. Every day new versions of softwares are being put up. There is an evolution, and this evolution comes as a result of people's demands and desires. That's where the developers find the urge to ensure that they evolve their products over time. So if you're an entrepreneur investing into something and you're not willing to evolve, definitely that's going to leave you behind. We live in a world whereby in a space of just 2 months, quite a lot has been invented into a particular market. Quite a lot has been explored into a particular sector. So it takes a certain aggressive level of research to ensure that you can actually reach that level and you can be able to sustain that particular competition. And also, you will be relevant. Your product will be relevant as it evolves. Remember, human beings, they are ever changing. They are quite unpredictable. Every day, new desires, new tests. So as you're making your product, put that into concept. Let there be an evolution. Okay, now let's wind this up with the business quote of the day. Opportunities don't happen. You create them. That's Chris Grosser. That's the person that wrote that particular quote. Opportunities don't happen. You create them. Of course, we live in this world with we are different individuals. We all face different fates in life. There are those people that opportunities will look for, and they will get those opportunities, but that never means if you've not been a part of those personnel, you're not going to be someone in life. You can be. You can create that opportunity. In other words, this time around, if we are talking about being entrepreneurial, for example, you're pursuing a career in a particular field, and probably you've not been admitted by the responsible bodies to take you in. Why don't you start your own? Create your own career, create your own business, create your own something, whatever field you could be in. You're a lawyer, create your own your law firm, let me say that. And you will be able to, of course, develop yourself and also the society at large, other than waiting for the opportunities, because the competition is quite tight in the world as we speak lately. Such opportunities may never come. Very few people get a chance to actually get these opportunities. And some of the people that are lucky, you find that there are some family connections within there, but let's put yourself in a place, no one knows you in this world. You're probably, I don't want to say you're a nobody, because every person in this world is somebody. No one is a nobody here. But we're just trying to draw a line whereby you have nowhere to run for help. So it's important you create an opportunity. And one of the ways you can actually create these opportunities is to ensure that you equip yourself with knowledge to do particular things. You can go to the internet, you search about, learn something particular, start up something, create that opportunity for yourself, and you'll be able to develop your personality and also the society at large. And that's it for this hour. It's just exactly 4 minutes to the top of the hour. That's 8 a.m. Stick around, we return with the coffee court. Good morning.